Welcome back, everyone, to the North American LCS. My name is David Freak Turley, and joining me here on the series is Joshua Jat Leesman, whose pocket pick is Q-Dodge.
Wow. Occasionally. I think there are times where you should Q-Dodge if you're off-roll and a bunch of people autofilled, but
It's fair.
I do not agree with that intro.
They wrote it for me. I had to read it.
No, it's yours.
I didn't fight back. No. Elias wrote it for me. Blame him.
Throw him on the bus.
Yep, that's true. The stage is reset, and it's ready to go for our second series of the day. It's Team Envy taking on Team Dignitas. And both of these teams are still in possession of playoff spots, but they suffered upset losses to one-win teams earlier this week.
They both did, for sure. And for Team Envy, they are looking to establish some sense of consistency, specifically in the mid lane. They switched out for Niski, and now Pyrian is back. And it doesn't actually seem to be working the way it did earlier on in the split. I do think their champion select has been an issue, but with Pyrian starting today, we'll see if Envy can find that winning formula that they started the split with.
And we'll see if they can do that, of course. Team Dignitas, meanwhile, are on a 3-loss streak right now. However, to be fair, outside that FlyQuest loss, which was a bit of an upset, they had to play first-place teams last week, so you can kind of forgive a couple of poor performances.
Yeah, and whenever you're losing, even if you're losing to some of the better teams, it brings up questions, and then you need to find the answers. Oftentimes, when Dignitas seems to be struggling, they're trying to put Someday on carries, or you have to ask if you want to put him on tanks. What's happened this split, we kind of mentioned that he seems to play better when he's team fighting and helping the other teams. I think that's kind of true. On the, what I like to call hard split pushers, which are Fiora, Kennen, Jason, Camille, Someday is 6-4. But when he's on champions that aren't those champions and he groups a little bit more, the team goes 10-6. So I think that's fairly true. Obviously, there's a lot of factors outside of that, but whenever he is on something that influences the rest of the team rather than just his own lane, I think Team Dignitas does a lot better.
Yeah, and I believe, unless the prompter was wrong, it was 4-6 on split pushes. It was a losing record.
Exactly, and 10-6 on the non-split pushers.
Right, so a significantly better win rate, about twice as often he's winning when he's on the ones that team fight a bit more. Now the players are ready to go. Let's check out the starting lineups. On the blue side for Game 1, in their home colors, is Team Envy. Sarah from the top lane, Lyra in the jungle. Pyrian is getting the start in mid, alongside Apollo in the bot lane with Hakuho supporting, and Coach Violet.
And on the red side of this team, Dignitas, Someday, birthday boy, by the way. Happy 21st birthday to Someday in the top lane. Shrimp starting in the jungle, Keenan mid, Altec in bot lane with Big, and Coach Cobb.
And we'll see if the process can work now for Team Dignitas. As again, players ready champs like starting very, very soon. And right, it's very interesting. Stats are a funny thing to look at because they will tell you what happened, but there's always more to the story than that. And so, 4-6 versus 10-6. Clearly, he should play Maokai every game. Tank's the way to go for Someday. And sometimes you have to look a little bit closer. Was it really the reason? It's only a sample of a few games. Sometimes that can lie to you. And I'm curious what Dignitas really thinks the right strategy is.
Exactly.
Because you can always change things over time.
Yeah, it's up to Cop and St. Vicious. If you only ever played things that you win with and you stop playing things that you lose with, you would run out of champions very quickly.
Right.
In League of Legends, especially since Team Dignitas has played, 26 games so far this split alone.
A lot to play for. We'll see as Champ Select begins here. LeBlanc Rumble off the table, and you can see they're removing team fighters from Someday. It appears that the Rumble changes. Some consider to be nerfs. Clearly have not gotten the champion out of viability. The Galio banned in there as well, right? They are removing these Someday teamfight options more so than a split push options.
Yeah, Rumble in particular, very, very strong. It was Seraph's most picked champion in spring, but very rarely won with it, so I can kind of see why they're banning it away now.
After that, actually, Zach off the table, of course, from the first ban of Team Dignitas, and Elise, the Queen of the Hill. It is interesting seeing different teams having different priorities, but Lyra wanted to play Elise for early pressure, and Shrimp will just go opposite that with Lee Sin.
Yeah, I also think it's interesting how Kennen is still just in the wild here. If we're talking about champions that you would technically be able to play in those split push scenarios, but early on, no interest in that from Team Dignitas. Shrimp immediately gets the Lee Sin, and now they just, depends what they pick next with the Jhin, do not give away very much with their team composition.
Yeah, nothing too crazy right now. I think Jhin definitely has good late game. I know one of the thoughts I've seen is, he's a utility carry. Jhin actually does insane damage a lot of the time. The NALCS average for Jhin is 500 damage per minute, which is a very, very good average across a lot of games, so he certainly can belt out a lot here. Xayah, though, another one considered to be kind of a team fight hard carry here for Apollo, should be another high damage champion. I like both. These are very fun to play, two of the newer marksmen in the game, and that's the bot lane matchup. Waiting to see the support, and it's going to be somebody who synergizes with fast auto attack. The Braum coming in, no Rakan to be seen.
Yeah, it is interesting, right? Because Big actually was hard prioritizing Rakan early on in the split. It's now his second most played support, but without the Xayah synergy, I think people are getting a little more used to playing against it. Not to mention, I do feel like tank supports are just really good right now thanks to the itemization changes we've seen. But they end up going with Morgana for their support because it's good against Braum.
Sure, it absolutely is. I think it's an amazingly wonderful matchup on the side of Morgana. And now there's roughly 8 straight seconds of rooting available for Team Dignitas just in bot lane. That's only a minor exaggeration. Morgana and Jhin can certainly hold the target down. I want to see how well that comfort comes through. A couple of nice synergies. Tormented Soil will immediately turn on the Jhin W route. And of course, if she lands her Dark Bonnie, of course, the rest of the abilities land for sure. And we're going to wait to see now as basically top lane and mid lane. The 2 solos are left open for picks. Lucian and Taliyah going to be the 2 Team Dignitas bans, getting away a couple of mid laners from Pyrian. No Fiora for Someday. We'll see if they ban more tanks or more split pushers.
Yeah, very safe drafts from both of these teams so far. I wouldn't be too surprised to see an Orianna picked very early, but then that does leave the door open for Syndra. Pyrian's only had 1 Syndra game this split, though, and that is one of the things that people like to pick into Orianna. Another thing that could be a bit worrying is Corki is still up. That is also kind of a decent pick into Orianna. So curious to see if Team Dignitas wants to try and pick a generic mid here with a few counter picks potentially available so they can have Someday get the last pick.
Yeah, we'll see which role do they prioritize the counter pick for, and it is going to be Someday that want to give the advantageous matchup to a blind Orianna. And as you had mentioned, only 1 Syndra game, but it is up as a very frequent mid laner here for most teams, I should say. We're going to wait as Xayah was already grabbed, so you don't expect Tristana.
Would be rather unlikely to have the Trist go into the mid lane or the Xayah go into the mid lane. The Corki, on the other hand, is much more likely. It already naturally synergizes with Braum. I think it lines up well into the Orianna matchup, so that's just exactly what we were talking about. If they pick Ori, well, you're probably going to be up against Corki.
Yeah, and a good shout out right there for you, Jat. And I actually really like the fact that we're seeing a small metagame shift where double Knight's Vow, double Marksman seems like a really powerful team composition, right? Corki's in there, Lucian's in there. There's probably a couple mid laners you could bring out as well if you really want to go for it. And with both Braum and Shen happy to build Knight's Vows, you can see a very durable mixed damage backline. We'll see if that is the comp coming in. Jarvan going to be the last pick here for Someday, which, though he's a fighter, often considered more of a team fighter.
Yeah, and I think it's very good into the Shen. It's something that can interrupt the Shen stand united if you are in a split pushing battle with him, but then also arguably has better team fight presence. I actually right now would much prefer having the Jarvan on my side of the team. Even though this is Seraph's most played champion on the split, we get to see a switcheroo this game.
We'll see what it comes down to on this. It's going to be a fun one to watch for as Team Dignitas and Team Envy ready themselves on the Rift. 5-4 versus 4-5, very close in standings. It's the 5th and 6th place teams respectively right now. Of course, that can all change for the next few weeks of games. But it's time for final parting comments from the coaches and the handshake, and then it's up to the 5 players per team on the Rift to settle it out.
Yeah, you can see Kopp trying to give those last little bits of advice to the Team Dignitas team who have a ton of CC built into this team composition. So looking forward to see if they can be more proactive with their gameplay against Envy, who has had some issues making plays of their own.
And we'll see if the script can work for them here as Team Envy, Team Dignitas ready themselves up on the roster. Xayah and Jhin, the bot lane picks. I like this set of patches. We've had a very large amount of diversity in the bot lane outside of Kennen being the queen of that lane, but these teams have been going a lot of different places for that role. Shen versus Jarvan in the top lane as well. As you mentioned, Jat may be a bit Jarvan favored, but Seraph certainly is comfortable on the Shen, and we'll see which team can make the plays and close out the game as game 1 is afoot.
Yeah, and you mentioned now these teams are sitting at 5-4 and also 4-5, and we're halfway through the split for those guys. This marks essentially the first game in their second half, even if some teams have a little bit mismatched schedules as far as a round robin perspective goes. So much yet to be decided, basically. We saw Phoenix 1 end their first half at 2-7. They've already picked up another win to move to 3-7, and no one is out of the playoff picture as of yet. When you have a 4-win team sitting in 6th place, and you have 9 matches left to play,
and the worst team's got 2. Right, the worst team right now has 2 match wins. They're literally within a week of tying into 6th place with everything else going well. So certainly, we're going to be several weeks in until we start really determining who's out and who's in. Maybe the first place teams can feel a little bit safer, but we really have to see. It feels like as far as categorizing teams, there's sort of a top 4 and a bottom 6, and that can still change, but with the fact that Team Envy and Team Dignitas had lost to some 1-win teams earlier, you think maybe they're part of that same pool in that bottom half. As minions spawn, we'll see the lane assignment soon enough and see if there's really any deep wards. There don't seem to be. Trinkets didn't get too far across the river.
Yeah, and early jungle, always want to see how much of a pull blue side has been giving. I do feel like on this current iteration of the jungle, since it is so advantageous to start Raptors first, and the fact that blue side has even started pulling for the Raptors, does give blue side jungler an advantage. Watch what Lyra does here. He's taking the small Raptors, that hits level 2, and then his bottom lane is actually killing red for him as well. Meanwhile, you look at Shrimp up on that side, he got one command attack from Keen, and is still clearing that Raptor camp. So this is all because of basically map side if you're going to start Raptors. Because if you don't start Raptors, you're putting yourself in a hole already just because of the way the experience works on that camp. We'll see if Lyra can do anything with that edge.
Looks like Apollo and Hako missed almost nothing. A nice route right there. It's worth pointing out, Apollo was only 5 seconds late walking the lane. Usually I think 148 is about when you want to leave the red buff, and he left at 153. And we can actually track the XP as well, as they're not going to be very far behind in levels either.
Yeah, you lose a minion or 2 usually. Right. So it's not without cost, but as long as they're respecting the level 2 from Alltech and Big, they shouldn't be too bad off. And they're actually getting the shove on this one.
Yep.
Got to be pretty careful because level 2 comes through right there, and they have to back away.
And you can see that's the small cost you pay. Apollo and Hako would have leveled off of that third melee minion if they weren't late to lanes. They did sacrifice XP on a minion and then gold on another. They level up late here. But that's the cost they pay to give Lyra an insane start to see if he can get any ganks off early, or just simply out-farm Shrimp right now. We'll see if that comes through. Shrimp simply doing the full topside clear into recall. Lyra's still on Wolves.
Right, but I mean, it takes 8 seconds to recall, and in 8 seconds, Lyra is a full level and 2 camps ahead of Shrimp. So that is absolutely worth a 2-minion trade-off in the bottom lane.
Absolutely agree on this one, as Shrimp's going to head his way down to this side of the map and look to square off with his opposing jungler. Over the wall, there's a chase on in. He's going to the rest of this, but an easy scuttle take. Elise is very good at that with Cocoon. And with that Scryer's Bloom, going to pop it and see exactly what Lee Sin is up to.
What's up?
And based on the fact he has a longsword, he knows it was a 3-camp clear topside, did the recall. And a nice little ward with there to make sure he's safe.
And it really depends on where the lanes are here, because we could see some contesting here. Pyrian's going to harass Keen, but also Morgana's coming down from the bot lane.
And here comes the blast from the wall. Quick flash to the buy some time. The sun goes in towards the bot lane, though. Big down a half HP. Taco around the mix as well. Looks for the slow into an Alltech. Fire back and forth, and now Pyrian running down to 100 HP. Jumps away, gets someone to heal quickly to stay alive from Apollo. Now forced to run out. Someone to heal from move speed. Alltech wants in, but there's no more damage really to be had. Cocoon, they're going to turn back in, but they can't quite get the kill. The Root's going to buy some time. Looks like it's going to be body blocked by Hakuho now. 200 HP left on him. No kills to be had. Just a trade of blows.
Big and Alltech made that fight so much faster than Hakuho and Apollo did, and there were a lot of summoners burned on both sides. The big winner from all of this is actually Keen, because he was able to return to that mid wave naturally after the engagement stopped, whereas Pyrian got caught on the other side of it. So that's now a mid lane advantage for Team Dignitas after Lyra's invade. I don't like the fact that he actually ended up fighting that one because his bottom lane wasn't in position to help.
See if they can get any more out of this one then. Lyra's early jungle path to set him ahead, but they weren't able to get any kills out of it. And the fact is, I don't think Shrimp lost almost anything at the end of the day. And it's still just waiting for Elise's camps to respawn. Moby's rush for Lyra. So it's very much going to be that gank focus. It's very common. This is the normal thing for Elise to do. You see it more often than not, especially in solo queue. We'll see where he can go next as Raptors are back up, and Shrimp already on that camp. Yeah,
so much of Elise's threat is just getting in range to get the Cocoon off, and also the jungling tools that Elise has are really, really good, so you don't actually hurt your clear that much by going to Moby Boots. One of the reasons you can do it on that champion, making an immediate turn over to the bot side, although they should know they didn't burn any flashes, so this will be a pretty difficult game.
Oh, the Cocoon's gonna land, though. Who cares about difficulty? The blind Cocoon over the wall forces a flash out of Alltech. It's actually a bit too late from Big.
Yeah, I mean, that was a really long-range Cocoon. He somehow got that to connect, but then the Black Shield did come on to stop the Braum chain stun essentially from coming through, so disaster kill still kind of avoided. I mean, Lyra goes down there after clearing his bottom side of the jungle, which means his top side has respawned, and now Shrimp is pulling ahead of experience.
Yeah, nicely done. Adaptive jungling right there. It is again something worth pointing out with the somewhat long respawn timers on jungle camps that you can clear the first wave really, really fast, but you still have to wait for the second one to come in. Nice by Shrimp, and now he's been spotted out by Lyra level 5, but he's low on health. The flash Cocoon is still gonna land. They got the damage. They got the first blood. Good, great punish by Lyra.
Oh man, Shrimp got the one camp counter jungle, got a little greedy for the second. It is a Boots of Mobility Elise, so flash for flash, still lands it, predicting that Shrimp was gonna edge to the right so he would be able to hit the blast cone. So I think there's a little bit of mind games within that. If Shrimp would have gone left, that puts him in range of Seraph's taunt. So he was trying to rush that blast cone as fast as possible, but
Yeah.
they chain the CC and they shoot the skill shots right.
I'm pretty sure you cannot overrate how good that cocoon was from Lyra. That was predictive into Fog of War and just absolutely beautiful. This was the all NALCS jungler, and it didn't quite look like that form the first few weeks of games here for Team Envy. It was the rest of the team actually putting in a little bit harder work, but Lyra, about this week's worth of games, seemed really back on form here, and it's a great jungler to watch, a great player, obviously. See if Team Envy can keep the resurgence going. 800 gold lead for them. First blood's really a big part of that. No wait as Lyra is once again on the map and looking to fight for ward control.
More control wards littering the lane, but Shrimp actually giving the respect since he is down flash. Both those control wards and the Scuttle Crab go over. Hard for Dignitas to contest that because their bottom lane and mid lanes were shoved in, so if like they break out, the collapse would have been faster from Envy.
Back off and then give away 150 gold worth of control wards there. Bit of control taken back over. Mountain Drake, of course, is slow going. It's the tankiest of the Drakes, so may not see it too clear, but much of a sneak. Although both Elise and Lee Sin are very good at taking those Drakes normally if they're given some alone time.
Tankiest of the Drakes, but also I find one of the easiest to solo just because the
lowest damage.
Damage is so low.
Yeah, it is. Just takes time is all. Which can be an opportunity cost, but yeah, I definitely agree with you. It hurts the least, and you're often safe getting away if they do find you. Aqua and Big once again seeing each other down in this bottom lane, as we've had mostly a holding pattern down here. Mid lane is one farm apart, top lane only ±6, not too far, and bot lane in a similar boat here. It's Envy slightly winning out in lanes. They are getting a bit more farm, and that is despite the fact that Apollo and Hakuho did the heavy leash. They got the support counter pick, but the fact of the matter is Lyra ganked, and by forcing a flash, they got a bit of control back, and they're up the farm.
Yeah, it's interesting. I would actually like to think that it's mainly decided by the duo themselves in this game, since the first roam up hurt the Envy bottom lane when they had to retreat after trying to help Lyra at first, and then Lyra helped them get it back for them. And even now, just the top of its Warhammer versus Serrated Dirk, the items are pretty even. And it's well played by them to get that CS lead and Chubb going.
And nice to Apollo and Hakuho, who's done a pretty good job this game of being strong in the bot lane. We'll see what more can come out of it right here, as we're looking for the first package usage period heading topside with Lyra. Maybe to join Seraph in this, as they can look for somebody who is teleportless, so that turret could not be redefended. And in fact, Shrimp's on the wrong side of the map as well. That would have been a 3v1. Maybe it wouldn't have been a kill on some day. He's got a turret to back up, of course. Wind up to be had, and they're going to back right back out. A little knock at the trade of blows, but mostly the wet noodle fight.
Yeah, I mean, the Ninja Tabi rush on the Shen is going to keep that pretty neutral for now. You don't get much offensive power to the Ninja Tabi, but gets to tank up pretty well. Not to mention both can go Door and Shield, so health regen abound.
Case, nice little bind right there, and smart by Hako to jump in, put the shield in front, and give the gift of life to his bot laner. Thank you, Santa Braum. Whatever the actual name of that skin is, but we all know the inspirations. Probably Festive or Snowdown or something.
Something like that. He is holding a chimney. It's a very bulky shield.
I mean, he's a strong dude. Without the skin, he holds an unbreakable door
Yeah, true.
that he bored out of a mountain. Oh, it's actually called Santa Braum. I take it back. Production corrected me. I was wrong about something else today.
Yay!
We continue the wave clear battle in mid lane. Small lead for Keen right now, actually, who had, in the very early days, actually, of this split, Keen had been one of the primary forces for Team Dignitas wins. When he went off, they would tend to win the game. He's got farm right now. He's got a sword as well.
Down here
Another
again.
Cocoon's going to land. Black should have bit late. The knockup through there. The chain of the damage, but still no stun to be had just yet. He's going to back off, and here comes the curtain call. Lyra shot once. Now the shot toward Hakuho. The first one comes in for Shrimp, and now Apollo going to immune as much as he can. They're going to kick in the tank instead, but here comes Shen. And Shrimp low on health still goes out of Hakuho. The big shot comes across. Looks like Jarvan was able to stop the Shen from joining in at all. So Seraph not part of this fight. Apollo one hit away from dead. The double kill actually big, getting them all. Imperium now alone. Doesn't have the damage. The Black Shield keeping Big alive. Has to flash from that. A little bit of damage. Ignite was ticking on as well. Someday again stopping the Stand United from Seraph, and a big fight win for Team Dignitas, picking up 3.
Yeah, 3 big kills coming through. Want to watch where the Stand United comes in amongst all this as well, because again, the Black Shield does kind of stuff the initiation at the beginning, can see Lyra goes down, still no Shenalt. And then the Shenalt actually comes into Hakuo's Braum to try and keep alive. That buys them 1 kill, but he still gets destroyed by the 4th shot of Jinalt. And then obviously the Shenalt was interrupted by Jarvan up top. Pyrion comes in to try and salvage it right at the end, but ends up having to burn his summer spells. There we go.
More flash cocoons. Lyra cannot miss this skill shot, a 2nd kill of the game. Great setup, of course. That was Seraph's hard work, but now a fight in the bot side. Shrimp, ward up again. 1 more hit, he'll do it. Gets a nice assist thanks to Big's Black Shield. The flash bind. A flash to dodge for Seraph behind the minions.
And while the Boots of Mobility Elise is great for getting picks, it doesn't win the 2v2s against a Warrior Rush Lee Sin, because before that fight happened, Runic Echoes was not completed for Lyra. So you got to see how squishy he was against Trip. And now Team Dignitas have done the lane swap on top of this, but it's going to be a bit of a race for turrets since they're already started on the bottom side.
The attacks are in, pretty fast hits right here. Apollo and Hako, I think, are a bit faster in terms of being there earlier, but the damage output just seems higher from Team Dignitas. The fact that it's 3, they're going to knock this one down a few seconds early. And it was literally, I think, 1.5 seconds right there. So great quick play right there. No time was hitting the minions. First turret gold going to Team Dignitas.
Yeah, we're going to watch this gank one more time. Sees the Decayed Ward in the Tri-Brush, so just makes a quick move. And something was so low by that turret. I mean, that nearly happens with just the top laner there, but I think Someday was sticking around in part because he wanted it to be a bit. Morgan Lee Sin coming behind him. Yeah. They end up getting the 1-for-1 instead of the nice counter game.
Unlike for Lyra, took a greedy path back down. He went back to the Tri-Brush he had entered in, but it meant that he walked into a Lee Sin. If he went down the lane, he is safe right there.
Probably right.
Made the wrong choice. Unlucky. Even the best make mistakes sometimes. Either way, Team Dignitas now getting the Rift Herald after that, and it actually did snowball because it meant top lane outer went down. It meant they got that maybe a bit more control for the Rift Herald. Either way, that'll be traded with this Mountain Break and be getting a bit for themselves. Apollo almost gone back to Hakuo, but he didn't lose the recall.
Yeah, still kind of ending up in a pretty even game, even trading the Rift Herald for the Mountain Drake. It's funny, the Mountain Drake will help you take turrets, and so will the Rift Herald, so it's an even closer trade in that sense. I'm curious to see where Shrimp decides to use it. If the tempo of this game stays up, you want to hold it for a little while, then use it after a kill.
Yeah.
But I've honestly been seeing pretty decreased effectiveness of Rift Herald the later we get into the split.
Yeah, it's absolutely true. People have been very good at counter-playing it. I'll actually reiterate something I said about a week ago. It's a little rough putting Rift Herald on Lee Sin because now he doesn't have his trinket to ward hop with. He has to recharge a Sightstone between takes.
Right.
And if you're not a good Lee Sin player, you'll channel in the middle of a fight. Shrimp won't do that most likely, but he still is with a few less options for mobility.
Yeah, I agree. You get the empowered recall from the buff, but that's it. So I don't think the jungler needs to have it. The reason you normally put it on the jungler is he's going to have the most choice of which lane to put it in. But I actually agree. If you're going on Lee Sin like this, I would rather put it on anyone else on the team and then just drop it in that lane.
Someday Arkeen maybe the more mobile of the ones. Nice little bind right there from Big. A lot of damage. Hakuo going to stay safe enough. Here comes the engage. They're with the package. They want to bring in Shen as well. A kickback. Going to keep Keen safe. Here comes the engage. Nice knock up there for Hakuo after the flash. Shockwave. On to 3 or 4 of them. The Chasen is there. 1 kill. Traded 1-for-1. Here comes the curtain call. Looking for shots, but it's only onto the tank. Apollo cutting back. He's going to land from Shrimp. Does have the ulti. He's not going to dodge this, though. He's going to let the Q land and buy a little bit more time for himself. Out they go. 1-for-2 advantage Team Dignitas.
Wow, when the shockwave came through and Someday jumped behind, it looked like it could have been a lot worse, but I have to commend Apollo for his patience holding his ultimate. It totally stopped Someday and Shrimp from wanting to commit onto him because they didn't want to get caught in that giant Featherstorm, but now the Rift Herald has been dropped while they have a small numbers advantage. Boom!
Oh yeah, a lot of damage right there. Turret actually not getting hit a lot more. This fight's going to take it down, so despite winning a fight and summoning Rift Herald in a somewhat open lane, not getting the entire turret for it, but Team Dignitas sitting 800 gold ahead. Someday finds a ward to kill, consolation prize, and a wave to push in the top lane.
That picks up 30 gold, and now 75 off the other side, and your team at this wave. We're watching it one more time. Packaging in with Shenalt, so a good kickback by Shrimp to delay this. They still get caught by Keen. He gets a 3-man shockwave, and then the flank by Someday could have been a little bit nicer, and here's where you expect him to just ult Apollo. But then Apollo would end up being able to get a lot of damage back on them, so they actually decide not to go in on it, and Apollo is completely fine, not to mention he keeps his ultimate.
Yeah, so he's going to stay alive in this and go back to a fairly tied game. A nice bind. Big's going to put Apollo in the roots for a little bit while longer. You can see Apollo having very, very nice averages this game. Right, great laner, first in the league at 15 and even improving on it this game around. So well played to Apollo and Hakubo, and you can see as top lane is under fire, Pyrian in the split push on, and this will be a nice thing. No one's coming to contest. Lyra's actually waiting around in the jungle, puts even a ward down as well. You can see the mini-map to buy him a bit more safety. Once they realize that no one from Dignitas are coming, out he goes. Bot being attacked by Altec, but it's Seraph defending this wave a little bit. Some days a bit more risk. There's a jump to get away from the shotgun. A lot of damage coming across, though, and here comes the kickback. They're just going to destroy. Lyra has nowhere to go, and Keith gets the kill. Nicely played. There's a nice knockback, a nice setup, and a great kill from the Shrimp. Now in this bot lane, Seraph forced to run away from Someday.
Yeah, and Lyra going for a tankier Elise build, so he can hopefully make some of those risky plays, but he's done this before, and it's not the greatest way of transitioning your early kills. He dies anyway. Now they end up having to fall away because Team Dignitas is getting pressure in multiple ways.
They are, but they went for the play. Nope, just the turret and the backup. 2,000 gold lead now for Team Dignitas. Bot and mid out are taken out.
Yeah, Apollo, he's held that ult for so long. Has to use it right there. Dodges out the shockwave, and they think, oh great, Lyra's gonna flank. Wait a minute. Everyone is there, you can't flank, especially when Apollo's too far away. So not a great move by Lyra there since they lose the turret anyway.
I'll be honest, I didn't know you could ult a Xayah during a root.
Yeah.
Because when she came out and I played all the games, Morgana wasn't in the meta yet, so I hadn't seen her. Apparently you can fly in the air while rooted. Thanks, Riot, for making imbalanced bot laners, but he stays alive because of that. Gets away from the shotgun. Here comes the stun, though, and it's a little bit unfortunate for Altec. He's running, though, with Black Shield on, flash for safety, and the teammates are there to back him up. Quick root onto Lyra. Seraph to take the curtain call for now. Gets in front of those shots, and he's going to stay alive, but he's going to be injured. Only some Spider Link to the end, and Seraph jumps over the wall. They're all safe once again. A trade of ultis, but no foul.
Agreed. Mountain Drake coming up in 1 minute. It's a good point, Freak, about the Xayah ultimate. As an Amumu player who can't use Dark, who cannot use Bandage Toss when caught by Dark Bind,
That's lame.
I am very upset that Xayah can go on and jump into the air while rooted.
Yeah.
But
Meanwhile, Jarvan can EQ well anything.
yeah, that makes a little more sense because he has two of his abilities. I can kind of see the argument.
They're not individually blinks, I'm aware.
Man.
I'm still salty that Caitlyn doesn't move block if rooted while casting. Okay, there's a fight here. Pyrian flashing away, losing the flash though. And Shrimp putting in a nice amount of aggression. I like the fact that they're getting the black shields on the aggressor so you can't CC him off. Hakubo can't stop him. It's very, very nice. Morgana definitely facilitates aggression really well, as well as she also stops it on the defensive end.
Yeah, Big has been everywhere this game, finding the initiations, but also pretty critically preventing the kills from coming through. It stops the CC chain. Even though Lyra's landed some amazing cocoons from Fog of War, the big threat of that is the next CC that comes through. So the cocoon itself doesn't do any damage. Then he black shields, and the second CC is almost always getting blocked, and that's kept a lot of people alive.
Definitely has on this one. Looks like now it's time to fight for the Drakes. They're going to start it alongside Shrimp, and there's just no pressure to be had. They've got the ward control. They pick it up. Mountain Drake now for Team Dignitas. Teleport coming in for Seraph, though. He's got a flash, going to land the top of the cleanse, gets to the safety. Time bot just now. Quick knock up there, but Keen's still running back. No stun just now finally lands, but there's no damage. No one is there to follow up. Good misses. They're going to go into the front line. A Shrapnel catches two. Hits the tank. They're not dead just yet. Seraph forced to run in big. Going to find the stun. Not going to get it, though, as Pyrian Valkyrie's away. The root is on, though. He's almost dead. Seraph running for dear life. They find the storm in for Apollo. Second cocoon's going to miss for Lyra, and it's no kills coming in. Seraph slinking away with the skin of his teeth.
Pretty crazy that nobody died in that fight with so many ultimates being burned down, but there's a lot of patience coming out of both of these teams with their ability usage. Someday jumping in, getting a full W for the maximum shield on everyone, but then also ulting to the side instead of in, and then using his initial flag to jump out of the fight. Really a fairly passive, non-committal way to go into that fight. No one wanted to make the big mistake in this game.
Not just yet, so it's going to remain completely within reach for both these teams. Once again, Dignitas do have the small lead for themselves. It is that 1,700 gold to their favor, but certainly nothing close to insurmountable. As the Envy head back across the map looking for the plays. Team Dignitas do have better deep wards. You're seeing a few of these red icons in that minimap on the bottom side. So they've got a bit of vision towards Envy's side. I assume it's intentional.
Yep. Would think so. It is pretty difficult for either of these teams to get deep vision, though, based on how close the game is. Slight edge still going over to Team Dignitas. They have so much more CC if they do want to start fights.
You're waiting for the next big play. Dignitas has been playing it slow and secured, and they've been able to get the outer turrets pretty nicely. And once they have that Mountain Drake, it means Baron Rush is more on the table. Jin, who's a good team fight damage dealer, is not a good AFK and right-click damage champion. He's not the sickest Baron kill. Lee Sin and Jarvan aren't terrible, though, so maybe that still makes it reasonably fast. It's just not one of those Cassiopeia Vayne comps where they just obliterate objectives like this. So
Yeah.
on the average, maybe slower than normal.
Yeah, with double Mountain Drake, both teams will have pretty substantial threat on it.
Yeah.
I would say Envy definitely killed it faster than Team Dignitas, thanks to the double marksman, but yeah, nothing crazy. Are they going up top?
Not just yet.
Ambitious
forth
Ghost
again.
Blade pop. Get to those minion waves faster.
Yeah, I think they doesn't have a ton of in-combat use, so it's not the worst thing in the world. The cooldown's only 45. I actually totally don't mind Youmu's for reaching waves. I think it's completely reasonable. It saves you about a second. And let's see. As the continued push towards the mid lane comes in, they've got the tank stats to keep their marksmen safe, but really you can see Apollo not even looking at the turret. He knows he can stay safe. He knows he can trade Featherstorm for Shockwave and go for those attacks, but he'd rather kill a ward. It's a really slow-going play for Team Envy right now.
Yeah, I think both teams have relative faith in their scaling. Double marksman, especially if they build up towards some of the more supportive items for Braum, can be pretty strong, but then Ori Jarvan always has a chance in the games because of the Wombo potential.
Oh, totally agree. It can be scary, and you can never count out a good Lee Sin player, and Shrimp certainly is one. Let's see who comes in for this. Looks like pressure now towards the Baron. Of course, we're 23 minutes in. That's the objective to control for most of the time. As a result, you're seeing both top laners sit on the bottom side of the map. As always, you keep your teleport away from the major objectives so you can get the most use out of it. If Apollo's down there, you can't threaten it. If Baltic's down there, you can't threaten it. So, standard by the book shot calling. Not a surprise at this level of play, but always like to reintroduce concepts in case those of you haven't seen that before. Aegis now in for Hakuho, going for the pretty early locket here. So not the Knight's Vow rush that we maybe would have expected.
Yeah, well, I was kind of lamenting earlier about how many supports are still rushing Redemption, even though they don't have other shielding items.
Right.
Because the Redemption heal is just so underwhelming. On Morg, it is kind of a support that is without a clear item path now. The Redemption people love to go kind of the Ardent Sensor route, but Morgana has nothing that can proc the Ardent Sensor.
Black Shield, but that's like, you're not putting it on Baltic forever. It's still a shield, isn't it? I'm almost certain.
I don't know if that counts. It might. I know the old Galio shield didn't count as a shield, so potentially the Ardent would work there, which I think would be okay, but the cooldown's pretty low on that. Or sorry, high on that.
Right.
But then Locket only works with higher health pools, and traditionally the Locket Knight's Vow is great, but Knight's Vow is half effective if you're a ranged champion, which Morgana also is. So I do think it's actually a pretty tricky champion to find feel-good support items on. I think Locket's the closest you're going to get.
Yeah.
Interesting to see if he builds health after this.
Right, even though it got changed. Like, Locket's not bad without significant other itemization, but you're right, it is tricky finding the right build, absolutely, and there's not like a ton of Morgana players just yet, so there's not been like a lot of science in terms of other pros trying to figure out the right path as well, but we might see that adapt over the course of the year as Morgana continues to see more play. It's interesting to see how players adapt. It's always a fun thing to watch. We're back checking on this game, and it's still that same 1,700 gold difference. Really not a lot has changed other than items getting completed and minions getting killed left and right. Kyrian and Apollo getting the primary gold income here, which I think makes total sense. They are the ones who are going to be doing the carrying. Infinity Edge close to done for Kyrian, which after the itemization changes actually is gold efficient on its own.
Yeah.
Double flat magic pen also done for Keen, worth pointing out, so he can absolutely shred through the squishies now, as there have been no major magic pickups for any of the squishies on Team Envy, so Kyrian and Apollo both will be threatened by the Orianna damage.
Yeah, and Envy's going all in on Apollo and Kyrian as damage dealers, especially since Lyra's going for a tank Elise build on top of the Shen and Braum for the front line. So with Leandries, a lot of it is on Keen to kind of go through that. Team Dignitas' team is actually fairly burst heavy rather than damage over time heavy, so the team fights are going to be a lot about finding access to Kyrian and Apollo, because they're trying to cut through a Seraph Hakuho frontline. It's not going to be easy.
It's definitely not, but we'll see if they can make that happen. The first 4 shots from Altec going to be a big deal. He, of course, has the Infinity Edge now, so that burst. The missing health damage in the back of it as well, going to be pretty important. Let's see what comes through on this. Spiderling trades with Shrimp. He's going to be just fine. Level lead for Shrimp briefly here. Has more farm as well, as the farm again being funneled for Team Envy to the marksman. slow on a Shrimp. Sunday's around. Here comes Seraph. Doesn't get a bunch of a taunt, but is over the wall. That's on cooldown for a few more seconds. Stun on Sunday. They're going to get that bit of damage. Gets the shield. Look for the jump forward. Not going to find it. Fury Impact is in. Now Sunday goes for the dunk. He's got quite a few. And Apollo's got nowhere to go. Rooted up as well. Trying to get away from the shot, but doesn't come in just yet. Sunday going to kite back and stay alive. A nice locket pop by the support. Red team picks up the Dragon. It's Shrimp who takes the Infernal. And now it's Envy still in the chase forward. Taunt onto one. Do they have the damage? Shotgun only gets a couple of hits, but it is a kill onto Seraph, I should say. 1 for 0 for Team Dignitas, plus the Drake they got. Now Pyrian getting slowed. Oh, and Hakuho didn't see it coming. Living Daylight's blasted out of him. Has to run out. Pyrian barely gets away from it, but now attacks coming in for Apollo. Lear getting the kill for him. One more shot will do him in. They can't quite get it. Repelled to buy some time. Pyrian can he get the attacks across on an Altec. He is afraid to crit. He's not quite gonna get him. It was so close, but someday the flag will kill him. The Q will do it too. Double kill now for the top laner, and it's only Pyrian left alive.
What a mess of a fight that became as the package got moved right at the start of it, and then Shrimp committed for the Drake steal. It could have just been a 1 for 0. It's actually Envy who decided to go for that re-engage, but they really don't have that much damage. Black Shield, Ori Shield blocked all the executes that they were going for, and Team Dignitas walk away with a 4 for 1.
Looks like it now. It's going to be the Baron going down. Not even a problem for them, and they're going to wait for the respawn. That was really nice. Keen just came back up. They waited 2 more seconds. Then they got that 5th Baron buff to be sure it's even stronger.
Yep, Baron on all 5. We're going to watch how it started one more time, and it didn't start pretty. Sunday gets stunned, and then still wants to go for the ult in, but Keen actually wasn't in range to get a good shockwave off, and Seraph was also distracting the team. Then, very brief foray into the Drake. They see Shrimp jumps over the wall. They say, hey, we can go. They get a taunt onto Big, but then the shields come on him. They get the shockwave. It gets the kill, and everyone can still flash over the wall. It really gets ugly for Envy here, though, when the curtain call pops up. Hakuho goes down, and the rest of them end up dancing around for a pretty extended period of time. Yet again, you can actually disengage this. They decide to go back in yet again. Shrimp stays alive, Big stays alive, Altec stays alive, and Someday had teleported back into the fight for the cleanup to pick up a double kill right at the end.
Those last 2 very big, absolutely, because as you saw, Envy almost got out. Now the refight here in the mid lane. Dignitas do have Baron buff, a quick shield. Lyra staying alive a little bit longer. He's got a Shen now as well. Curtain call comes in, hit on the Seraph number 1, hit onto Lyra, goodbye to him, and Seraph's got to get a shield, and just able to kite away. Another 1 for 0, though. Team Dignitas really opening up this game. 4,000 gold lead almost, looking for mid lane tier 2.
Yeah, Baron buff up. Someday can even split push this one because there were very few things that Envy can do to wave through this properly. Morpheus bottom to deal with the wave, and Apollo could not deal with Baron when he's in 4 people on his own.
To be honest, Team Dignitas have really, really good Barons to split as well. They have closed out so many games with Baron buff still on the members. Mid lane has lost 2 turrets already. Look at the inhibitor itself. Bot lane tier 2 is gone as well. This took 3 turrets in about a minute and a half. Inhibitor as well. And this gold team is only 4,000 apart. This is a reasonably close game, and they've taken a lot of the base down.
Yeah, the team fights have been very close, and when they get that Baron advantage, they can just extend it so much. It's going to be difficult to push here with Lyra up. We'll see how greedy/aggressive Team Dig wants to go here. Still a minute and a half of Baron. A big wave coming out the back. All their ultimates are up except for Curtain Call. They could decide to go for it if they can get the pick on the right target.
So they'll try. 1 minute 20 left on the buff. Looking to knock down bot lane here.
They're not even defending.
Revives are in for Envy. They're not hitting until the turret's already gone, and now Lyra's got to run back towards the base gates. Forward over the wall, but no fight to be had just yet. Inhibitor with no conflict, not bad. Or inhibitor turret, I should say, without conflict. 1 minute left.
A quick backup for the red buff. Yeah. Going to swing back in if they got the turret. I mean, Lyra is just shoving out minions in the mid wave. Come back for this inhibitor. They're hoping for a flank. Yeah, they're hoping for a flank, and also to buy a bit of time as they're waiting for the next wave to show up, and now they have it. Team Dignitas can look for the play here. Someday at half HP, and they haven't bought, so all that gold they got from the fight hasn't cashed in just yet. Looking for Someday forced to retreat. Health bar lead for Team Envy, and this looks like it's going to be an empowered recall. You can see 1,200 gold minimum on every member here from Team Dignitas, and it's going to be the reset. Yeah, it's actually 7,000 gold in inventory for Team Dignitas before that recall. So it will be well spent. They finish the rapid fire cannon. You just get to see all the buys come through all at once. Really tanky Someday coming through. Interesting that he didn't go stone plate, but the rand ones make sense against double auto attack as being the main damage dealers. Yep,
and even though Corki deals magic damage, they're still crits. It still works. That's how the item functions. I've actually seen just plenty of people who just, they get confused on that point because you expect auto attacks to be physical damage, and It doesn't matter what the damage type is, and now a fight here onto Lyra, who is flashless, doesn't have a lot of ways out. Nice slow there, Rando is helping with that, the kick is in, and Shrimp gets that kill picked up, the God Fist is here. Here comes Curtain Call, and Shrimp forced to run, a nice crit comes in, that you can see the damage output of that Corki, played by Pyrian, a 1-for-1 trade of junglers. Maybe the best Envy can hope for.
Yeah, not actually the best move there for Team Dignitas, especially since they used Curtain Call and Cataclysm there, and Seraph now has his ultimate back up. But the question will still remain, how does Envy actually win these fights? They need a lot more damage on Pyrian and Apollo to cut through Sunday's Bruiser build that ends up getting shielded up so much by Morgana and Oriana.
Gonna go in here for this top lane inhibitor. 4v4. Lyra up in 13 seconds, and Shrimp, of course, far away across the map. If it's not this wave, it's a 5v4. Team Dignitas don't get the turret. They should have to back up here.
Yeah, I don't see him getting much done without Baron-empowered minions at that turret. The wave clear from Corki will definitely clear the normal minions.
Yeah, especially Shiv Corki, which we've seen as the new build. I think it's still debatable because you can have Rapid Fire Cannon apply Trinity Force hits from farther away, but Shiv just is the best Zeal item, in my opinion, and certainly it's more damage this way. Also, it forces so much magic damage, it amplifies with the Sword Shoes, the other magic he's got in the kit, so, you know, certainly is a lot of damage here for him, and it's been the new de facto Corki item in the mid.
Yeah, and I just want to double back to the Randwin's point you made about auto attackers really quick. It's an even better item against double marksman if you think you're getting focused as a tank, because the 15% attack speed slow isn't equivalent to taking a dagger away from a marksman. It just takes 15% of all of the attack speed they have multiplied for that game, so it is a much larger gold value than you would think in the attack speed reduction. And then even items like Ninja Tabi, even if they are magic damage auto attacks, the 10% reduction in auto attacks still happens if you were to theoretically build Ninja Tabi, which no one has built on Dignitas' side here. It's a little bit of a weird thing up against your Corki since you still want to build magic resist anyway. But for just general tankiness, if you're doing an all catch build, Ninja Tabi could still be the right choice against a multiple auto attacker team, even if it's, you know, Ken and Corki and Caitlyn or something.
I totally agree with you. It just means that Sunday needs his MR from somewhere else, and he's got a Negatron Cloak and Merc Treads to that effect. He's stacking it up now. Stoneplate going to be soon enough here. Quick root, couple of shots with Hakuo, staying alive for now. But it's the repeated attempt towards the bot lane. They want the engage. They're hitting Lear a couple times. Gets a quick Shen shield. Will there be a re-engage? Black shield on Sunday keeps him safe for now. Wave clear out of Apollo. Another crit. Puts Lear down to 2/3 HP. Fighting back and forth as Big comes in. And Alta gets the attacks down. 2 more shots. They might get close in this one. Gets a nice hit towards Lear, but won't kill him just yet. Apollo gonna kite back. A quick stun on the front line. They're really putting a lot of damage on a Sunday. Shockwave only gets the frontliner, but is that going to be enough? Thunderstorm coming across. They try to get the damage up, but Sunday staying alive. Somebody else keeps him up. Big gets one, but it's gonna be traded back as once again Shrimp is gonna fall. The inhibitor dropping also, and now it's Pyrian trying to kite away from these shots, but gets double rooted. Gets more damage across. Hakuo wants the Q, and he's not gonna get much. Barely staying alive for both these two players. It's like still 1-for-1, but inhibitor down is advantage Team Dignitas.
Yeah, they get the second inhibitor down. You can really see they give a lot of time for Envy to work down their front line. They spent so long just tanking and tanking and tanking. But Team Dignitas was committed to that push, and when they can trade it back for 1v1, it is worth it. Baron coming up in 5 seconds, and especially having super minions pressuring the wave that is furthest away from Baron. Very good for Team Dignitas, and now they just get to set up around Baron and keep running the play.
I'm going to keep running it. Yeah, of course, Baron up live right now, and because Team Envy has not been able to leave their base in roughly half an hour, slight exaggeration, they're going to be going for ward control. This is actually the time they finally get. They know they forced the backs. They know Seraph can join the fight soon enough. No ulti yet, but up soon. And Envy get a brief respite. They're able to farm out the waves. Mid lane inhibitor back up. Gold difference still only under 6,000. This is still a winnable game. Dignitas are winning, but it's not over certainly yet. And now, once again, the fight is over ward control. And this is always going to be tense. If you play it right, you can get the picks. If you play it wrong, you can give away a champion. And Envy still have that earlier Mountain Drakes. They've got the ability to rush down a Baron with the double mark, but they've got plenty of damage. Rapid Fire Cannon done now for Pyrian. He's power spiked, 80% crit. And Dignitas, though, double Infernal Drake. They've got the stats. They're going to go right now for Baron.
Yeah, they can go fast. Pyrian would want to come in with package, but as you say, double Infernal and Mountain does make this pretty quick. Still looks like they want to feel for a fight if they get the opportunity.
No one's in range. Lyra just around here as well. 3 doesn't help left on him. Someday back and forth, looking for hits on this, and they're going to go for the engage. They knock up Lyra. Here comes the dive in with the Cataclysm. Out goes with the package, and Someday just running away to buy a bit of time. A taunt brings in the front line. Trip going to force to be run away. And the re-engage comes in, a knock up on a 2. Can they pick off Keen? Yes, the crit from Pyrian. 600 damage there. Looking for Altec, can't quite get him. Shrimp dangerously low as well. This could be 3 kills for Team Envy if they can just make it happen. Shrimp forced to run, and here comes the chase in. Seraph wants Big. They want Altec as well. They've got to go for the right target here. Not going to land the slow just yet, but Seraph is tanky. There's the big crit, and it knocks off the black shield. Corki, a soft Canada Morgana in that respect. Lear not going to land the stun, but Big will die. And it's only 2 left alive. Someday and Shrimp versus the world.
Boy, did we cast or curse Team Dignitas' Barons real hard right there, but they also cursed themselves in that fight. The tank play from Seraph was actually much better than Someday. They're going to be rushing this Baron. Shrimp wants to steal.
No vision.
He is not spotted, but he has no vision. It's total blind.
He has to guess entirely. Q. Ooh, it was reasonably close. Not going to get it, though. Seraph was able to recall. He's defending the base. Mid inhibitor won't, looks like, drop either, and so the best of kind of all worlds. Envy don't lose too much. They get the Baron, they get the 4 or 3 kills, and are back in fighting distance.
Yeah, and the game continues. So this is actually a pretty clean reset for the game right now because you're having the last Whisper being completed by Apollo to cut through the resistances. You're seeing Pyrion building up Rapid Fire Cannon and Static Shiv to get even larger bursts of damage. Would actually love to see a Void Staff there, but he has the Hex Drinker to guard against Orianna Burst. And in these team fights, Team Dignitas are trying to do the Jarvan initiation into the ball delivery system, but Seraph is taunting Keen at the back of the fight and not allowing him to get the Orianna ball in position for the big wombos. So that then buys Envy enough time to kill Someday and then roll through the rest of the fight. And with the gold now being equalized, it's anyone's game.
And I actually have to check back on what Aegis builds out of now, because Envy might be going for their 3rd locket if it's not something else out of him. I think something else builds out of Aegis now. It might be
Yeah, I'm
Zeke's?
pretty sure you can do the new Zeke's Convergence as well as
locket.
the Banner of Command, but the triple locket, specifically on Seraph, if he stone plate lockets and he hasn't had anyone else's locket on him beforehand, it'll be about 2,000 health of a shield that decays. The problem with these triple locket builds is the debuff does linger for a decent amount of time, like 8 or 10 seconds within the team fight, and if you get one of the inferior lockets used, like Hakuho, since he doesn't have very much full health, it's not going to be a big locket shield, and then Seraph's Mega Locket will actually be diminished because the locket debuff is still on you.
Yeah, any locket past the first about 15 seconds within his half value, so we'll see what comes into this one. Gold only 400 apart. Team Dignitas still up these Infernal Drakes. They certainly matter, of course. It's going to make the gold lead lie to you a little bit. But the Marksman online. Mikhail's in for Hakuho as well. They're going to look for a stun. Not quite yet on a Someday. A lot of damage, so they got to be careful. They got to find Lyra for a bit. Here comes Curtain Call. Hakuho taking up at the front, though. And the Envy squad is fine. Lyra only a bit injured. That's going to be all right with him, though. A lot of poke on towards Big. Quick Shrimp shield coming in. Still damage back and forth via Pyrion. Going Hex Drinker as his last item. Pyrion trying to survive the mage damage. Only one damage dealer on the team is just Keen. Pyrion itemizing against him. Can't say it's wrong. Interesting choice is all. No Void Staff means no tank busting for Pyrion, though. He's going to be a bit slower at killing through Someday, Shrimp, and co.
Not a huge amount of magic resist on those two, but still a non-trivial amount.
Gonna find Someday for a stun. He can't get over the wall just yet. Finally does, but Black Shield is down. Big force to Zoni as the ulti. Only gonna find one support himself, flashing over the back of the wall. And once again, they find some damage on towards Lyra. Now Someday diving in, then right back out. He's got low health bars. Keen's gonna go down. One kill picked up there, and Big is next up for Lyra to chase onto this one. A couple more shots will do him in. One more auto attack, and from downtown, Lyra takes it out, and the stun is in. They're gonna take down Shrimp 3 for 0. The grit, the determination there for Envy working out. The double marksman skilling into the late game. Now up in gold and mid lane under fire with the Baron buff.
Yeah, this looks over right now. They have everyone alive. The big Mega Locket came in halfway through that fight from Seraph and really did absorb a lot of damage. Still just Altec and Someday. I don't see a world where they stop this push.
Looks like Envy might be able to make it happen. The flash forward from Lear looking to knock down Altec, and it's only Someday left up, and it's not going to happen. Happy birthday, game 1 is down for you as Team Envy, who make themselves take the comeback win, 14-14 in kills. But all they needed was that one right here, the Nexus, and game 1 goes to Team Envy.
Oh man, what a comeback by Envy right there, and it's all because of the faded Baron, where Team Dignitas has done a lot of good work this split. But they just take a very bad team fight in that area after fighting Baron for about 5 or 10 seconds. And that's a tough one to bounce back from because they had won so many of those mid-game fights. They had fell 2 inhibitors for Envy and even had an inhibitor down when they took that Baron fight. So all you really need to do is stall and wait for those minions and play the back and forth. They got a little impatient, they lost the fight, and then they never got control back.
Yeah, and it was just really good team fighting. The double marksman did so well, about 800 damage per minute here from the mid laner for Pyrian, and about 650 out of Apollo in the bot lane on the Xayah. So big numbers with the two highest damage dealers in the game, and that's what it came down to. It's a comp that I'm really, really liking. We didn't see the Knight's Vow, to be fair. It wasn't the reason, but it was a big frontline double marksman. Corki's clearly back, and that team fight power was there. Props to Seraph to taunting away the Orianna, so those shockwaves never seemed to reach the backline.
Yeah.
And it was better team fighting for Envy. Huge props to them. Now going to throw it down to Mark and Dash to get their thoughts on that Team Envy win.
Thank you very much, Freak. A sweet comeback victory here for Envy in Game 1 against Dignitas. And as Jat mentioned, the big flaw for Dignitas was around the Baron, something that this split of all splits, they've actually been performing very well around typically.
Yeah, I mean, I think they did get one Baron earlier in the game, so it wasn't like, oh, it's a complete disaster.
Right.
But that when a critical moment, when they needed one more Baron to probably close out that game, they messed up around it. Overall, though, really scrappy game. Just both teams having pretty standard team fight, team comps for the most part. Two bruisers or tanks up in the top side.
Right.
Two big carries, junglers, early playmaking that kind of fall into utility later, and then it's just about how they fight. And early on, this game was nuts with both Lyra and Shrimp trying to go crazy.
They're going after each other, right?
Yeah.
I mean, Shrimp's in Lyra's jungle, Lyra's firing back with flash predictions on the cocoons and whatnot. And so, again, we see kills traded back and forth, with Dignitas getting a little bit more out of each of those kind of skirmishy trades, as they are, by most standards, the better team and expected to win. But it was for Envy to strike back at the right moment in order to turn the tide.
Right, and I mean, like, there was that bot lane skirmish that you could kind of see the potential where it's like, okay, you know, they almost won that one, but it was a great interrupt on the Shen ultimate by Someday to keep that as a 4v4 as opposed to becoming a 5v4. Those kinds of things mattered a lot, and in the early game, getting that small lead before finally, you know, Dignitas started winning some dragon fights with that lead.
Right, the big moment for Dignitas was 26-30 in the game, 4-for-1 plus near the Drake. We'll take a look at this replay in just a moment, see how it breaks down. Look at that skirmishing power of the Dignitas squad.
And the big thing here is Pyrian with his package just goes over to get positioning as opposed to look for a potentially damage one. And it would have put him in a weird spot, but with both summoners available, I think it might be worth the risk to get some damage out there, because as a result, at least this very poke-heavy fight, Dignitas secures the dragon, they try and kite it out. Envy wants to get something as return, they feel like they have higher health bars, but they just get outplayed. They try and go into the Morgana has flash, sets up the Ori shockwave, they're continuing to go, and now that they've been kind of kited out and poked low during that chase, it's the perfect time for Jin to open up in turn. Picks off Hakuho, and then Apollo, despite playing this game pretty well up until this point, had really struggled to actually get a couple kills, and he finally gets one there, but it's put him in a bad spot, and now Altec's able to chase around a little bit with the Jin and grab some more kills.
I think one of the things we notice here, though, is that at this stage of the game, the burst potential of Dignitas is still there, right? With the Jarvan being able to threaten the backline. As the builds start to come in for Envy, we see that triple locket. Yes, there's the debuff where they're not going to do as much, you know, in succession, but still the amount of safety that all of a sudden gets provided to the backline of Envy, as well as the front line, to be honest, makes it exceedingly difficult for somebody to find his window to get onto the backline and provide any threat.
I think it was one of the, some days, I wouldn't say worst games, but just felt like he was not as big of a factor as he should have been.
Right.
There were a couple ultimates where if he pulled the trigger right away, maybe it works out better, and it ends up being the case where on the Jarvan pick never really got going, didn't become a huge backline threat, and part of that, like you said, is due to all those lockets.
Right. We get to 35 minutes. This is the big team fight for Envy as they unseat Dignitas. But again, we see around this Baron, Dignitas normally showing some poise around it. A three-man Jarvan ult here, but look, there's no one took damage.
Yeah,
and now he's out of the fight.
Right, the Orianna ball was not ready to kind of combo off that one instantly, and then once the tank's kind of out of the way of the front line, it's not too hard for Envy's comp to chase through here, and so they get the initial kill onto Ori, and it doesn't look too bad, but they're pinned up against the wall. They're on the wrong side here, and it's a chase down against a split-up enemy, and this is the perfect time for Envy to actually kind of close this game, or get this game back under control, and it's mostly due to, like we said, that lack of impact on that backline when the Jarvan went in. Part of that's the Orianna combo not being ready, but without knowing the communication, did Someday clearly say he was going now?
Right.
And say ball me, or...
Well, especially in those moments, right? I mean, that is a very tense moment around the Baron anytime you're trying to make the decision of whether or not you should peel, whether or not you should focus the Baron, and who exactly is the target if you decide to peel. Obviously, there's a lot of information that needs to be shared, but hey, the highest level teams will get that information across, and they will execute on that play as they need to in order to hold on to their their lead.
Yeah, there was another one later as well where Someday could have potentially started things off for
Like a
Jin.
4-man ult.
Yeah, 4-man ult as people were starting to get low in the skirmish instead of back down. That was the team fight that they ended up losing. But Seraph had a really monster game against what many consider one of the best top laners in the league.
Beginning of the day, too, when we were talking about teams that want to make a run out of that bottom echelon of squads, you had looked at Envy. And one of the things you talked about, though, was the inconsistency of Seraph. And hey, when he looks good, they typically look, pretty phenomenal as a team. And this is one of the games in which he was performing well, but we need to see more of it and more consistent.
Well, Shen's a great champion to go have a pretty stable game on it because you're not asked to be a split push threat, even though you are supposed to be in side lanes. You're supposed to be watching your team still for the most part. And so when you land the ultimate, you can get involved. You just have to hit some big taunts. And he was able to land a lot of nice taunts over the course of this game and just kind of let the backline carry, which is exactly what they did.
Also, the other thing that you talked about at the beginning of the day was the Niski-Pyrion situation in which they actually looked like they had some direction in the beginning of the split with Pyrion in the lineup, then transferring over to Niski. Sure, he's got a pool that maybe fits the meta a little bit better, but they seem less sure about how to use him as a win condition. Pyrion back in the lineup, and yeah, the game wasn't 100% Envy's from start to finish, but once again, they just seem to have a little bit more of a calmness about them with him in the roster at the moment.
If you look at where a lot of those skirmishes broke out in the early game, they were almost all entirely in side lanes, and Pyrion was, for the most part, moving down to join in on those. And that's something that, with Niski, it's a totally different play style out of Envy. So you can kind of see why, even though they lost all those early game skirmishes, that is still going more to the play style that we expect out of this team. And they were very close to winning a handful of those. So it might speak more to just whether it's his communication on how he wants to play out the early game, being more team-centric, or just how well he doesn't need Lyra's time and Lyra can go make plays elsewhere.
Game 1 goes to Envy against a struggling Dignitas. We'll see if Team Dignitas can even up the score when we come back for Game 2 versus Team Envy. Don't go anywhere. You're watching North American LCS.
The Blast Moon is still gonna land. They got the damage. They got the first blood. Good, great punish by Lyra.
Go, go, go.
Go for it. I don't want to.
Okay, we go. We go.
Someday it's a bit more risk. There's a jump to get away from the shotgun. A lot of damage coming across, though. And here comes the kickback. They're just going to destroy. Lyra has nowhere to go, and Keith gets the kill. Nicely played. But is that going to be that Thunderstorm coming across? They try to get the damage up, and Someday staying alive. Somebody will keep him up. Big gets one, but it's going to be traded back as once again Shrimp is going to fall. One kill picked up there, and Big is next up for Lyra to chase onto this one. A couple more shots will do him in. One more auto attack, and from downtown, Lyra takes it out, and the stun is in. 14-14 in kills. But all they needed was that one right here, the Nexus, and Game 1 goes to Team Envy.